What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Too Pop to Handle. I'm your host, Andrew Nucatola, your pop culture best friend, and boy, oh boy, do I have a exciting, thrilling, riveting bonus episode for you guys this week. If you cannot tell by the title, if anybody is watching the video, if you cannot tell by my t-shirt, though, yeah, her face is completely blocked by my microphone. I am wearing a Gaga shirt. We are, she is here in spirit. All of that being said, I am coming at you with a full album review and lyric and production and just everything analysis of Mayhem by Lady Gaga, the 7th studio album, which as of an hour ago officially went #1. So we love to see that. What better way to celebrate than by dissecting the fuck out of this album, because it is truly brilliant. I love it so much, and I've been a little monster through and through since the fame. I went to the Monster Ball tour. I went to Joanne. I went to Chromatica. I have seen her a ton of times. I've loved all the different sounds. It's been a journey. Not every sound was always my favorite, but I understood the artistry of it. And I think the beauty of Mayhem and where we're at in Lady Gaga's career and landscape is being able to look at this album that she just put out and really feel the way that she's brought all of the past eras and sounds that she's done, because she's covered so many different genres. I mean, if you listen to The Fame and Joanne back to back, you're like, what? This is not the same person. And if you listen to Art Pop and Joanne back and forth, or Cheek to Cheek, she's really gone on this journey through her career of just exploring different genres. And we really learned a lot about how she approaches her music through this album and through all the interviews and things that she did. So what I did was I went through and we have a whole little segment just talking about the album in itself and how Gaga feels about it, what it means to her, kind of her process behind it. And then we're going to go track by track, every single song on the album, going through the lyrics, what I pulled, any connections I thought I could find from this album to past albums, or the way that a song maybe ties to another song on the album, and just really dissect it. Now, if you are new here, hello, welcome. This is not our usual cup of tea. Typically, we are a weekly pop culture podcast. I release episodes every single Wednesday, and it just covers all of the pop culture moments from the week that were just too pop to handle. We do talk about new music at the beginning of the show, but not as in depth as we're going to go on this episode. I do have 3 other album review episodes that I've done before. I did Cowboy Carter, I did Tortured Poets Department, and I did Short and Sweet by Sabrina Carpenter. So if you like the format and the vibe of this and you want more of my album analysis, whatever. You can go check those out. However, like I said, this is not our usual cup of tea, but I am planning on doing a lot more of these videos this year. I know I have a lot of listeners who found me through the Cowboy Carter episode. It's my most streamed episode ever by a landslide. So I know that, it is, people do like it, and I do definitely want to do it more. I just, we got to figure out the nooks and crannies of doing it, but I am planning to do it more. I'm definitely looking at doing Ariana Grande's Eternal Sunshine Deluxe, but doing the entire album. That's actually one that I've been wanting to do for a while and just couldn't last year because I didn't have time. But that being said, I hope you enjoy. I hope you stick around. And like I said, tune in every single Wednesday for our weekly episodes. And with that, let's dive in. Let's chit chat about this album, because like I said, I have so much to say. So just to kick things off, I need to eat my words, because I think the most surprising thing about this album is the fact that Die With a Smile fits into this album like the final perfect puzzle piece. And I never could have expected that had I known this was going to fit into the album so well when the song came out. If you go back and listen to the episode, I don't remember when it was, but whenever the dates correlate to when Die With a Smile came out, I was saying the song is beautiful. It's really good. I really like it. But I just did not see it fitting in the landscape of what LG7 was going to be, because at that time, we didn't really know that much. We knew it was going to be a pop album. We knew it was going to be kind of digging back into the old Gaga that everyone has been longing for so long. And I was like, this song is beautiful. It's good, but it's not what I'm expecting from LG7. So it's just something fun to hold us over. And listening to the album as a whole and seeing the way Die With a Smile is truly the perfect way, she said it herself, to roll the credits on this album. I am eating my words. I am taking everything back. And I think everybody kind of has that forte, because none of us could have expected the journey that Gaga took us on on this album. She said that this album is starting with the devil on her shoulder, and it brings us through joy, it brings us through anger, and she described the album as a series of gothic dreams, which I really love that analogy to describe this album, because when you're listening to the album, a lot of the songs have mentions of having dreams or nightmares, and it just really continues with this theme throughout of this gothic dream. And there's so many different sounds and so many emotions and feelings, and she kind of battles with herself and her inner saboteur, and that's another theme that we see throughout the album. And she really perfectly described the album, I think, in that sentence, just saying it is a series of gothic dreams. She also went on to say that she didn't want to give this album an outfit or a theme. In the past, you know, with Joanne, Chromatica, Art Pop, there's been an overarching theme or sound or vibe to the album. You know, they kind of have a cohesive sound or outfit, as she says, throughout. She said this album, she really wanted it to speak for her artistry, and in doing that, she caused mayhem throughout, and it's an album that encapsulates everything she's been through and has worked for. So we're really seeing that she is stepping away from that idea of like, when you think The Fame, you think Just Dance, and you think of like the disco stick and the poker face outfit. When you think of the Fame monster, we think of Bad Romance, and we think of, you know, the white outfit from the music video. Like, there's so many things that we think of tied to her albums, because she really is a visual artist. She's always given us this really strong visual to go hand in hand with every single album and every single era. Joanne, it's the pink hat. Chromatica, you think of the cover with like the bionic, the arms or whatever, you know, like the thing around her. Like, there's always been that kind of like emblematic vibe to the album. And in creating this album, where she's saying it's her own personal mayhem, it gives her that ability to really play with different sounds and different vibes throughout the album. And she doesn't stray too far off the beaten path for the most part of the album. She kind of does still have that more like upbeat sound, but you definitely feel a different, like when you put Disease and Killah next to each other, those are two could not be further apart. And then you throw in like How Bad Do You Want Me? Like, she really went ahead and just like mixed all of the sound that she's played with before and that she's studied, and she's really just like wanted to put her artistry forward. And I think listening to this album and just like as I was going through and reading the lyrics and listening to the production and reading all the interviews and like, you know, really dissecting each song, I was like, she perfectly nailed what she wanted to. I think the message that she wanted to get across came across perfectly. She also said that Lady Gaga is the artistry, the production, and the writing. I want to be remembered as a real artist. And that reminds me of that interview she did back. It had to be like 2008, 2009 when she was on Ellen. And she was like, it's so amazing to me how like everyone is always so shocked that I can sing. You know, everyone thinks I'm just like, I'm up there performing in a meat dress because I want to be like the wow factor. But like when you boil it down, I'm also a classically trained singer, and I can play the piano and I can play all these instruments. Like, there's so much more to Lady Gaga than just Lady Gaga. You know, there is an artist and a true musician behind it. And she's like, that's the legacy that I want to leave behind when I stop doing music, or, you know, whatever comes next for me. I want to be remembered, of course, as Lady Gaga, the meat dress, the paparazzi performance, you know, the crazy over the top things that she was doing. But more than that, she wants to be remembered for the artistry that she leaves behind, and adding to that artistry and production value that she brings to this album and wants to be remembered by. She also said that she wants to be remembered as a student of music. And throughout this entire album, there's so many references and almost like tributes, and not quite samples, but they're just like tributes and similar sounds and production styles as so many of the artists that since she started and came onto the scene, she's been saying are huge influences: Prince, David Bowie, The Killers, Michael Jackson, and I mean, the list goes on, and you really hear them come through on this album. And I think that's the most impressive, is that she was able to really create an album that sounds like Lady Gaga and what she was trying to emulate, while still showing us that like, hey, don't forget that like at the end of the day, I am also a fan of music. Like, yes, I am a musician and an artist, but I'm also a fan of all of these people who came before me that shaped Lady Gaga into who she is today. I mean, even thinking Tony Bennett, when she like slowed down for Cheek to Cheek and did the jazz albums, there's even like people are saying like one of the songs on this album is completely just paying homage to Tony Bennett through the lyrics. And I think that's what's cool. She was able to really pay tribute and homage to, as she said, like being a student of music while still creating art that feels unique and feels like her own. And then the final thing that I really thought really added such a great perspective to it. She said, back in the day, I was so fixated on fame. I mean, her first album is literally called The Fame, and she was so obsessed with the idea of fame. Like, she studied Princess Diana, she studied Andy Warhol, and she studied these people who had fame, or, whatever this definition of fame is. It's different for everybody. And through the years, she's realized that, yes, of course, there's that fascination with fame and being famous and, all of the thrills that come along with it. But she's really found that what she really finds joy in is the art. And that's kind of where we're seeing her transition into this new kind of like mindset and era of Lady Gaga. She said that when she started creating this album, Michael, her fiance, who, let's all just remember, we have to say thank you, Michael, for this album because he is the one who pushed her to do a pop album. She said that she really started to realize that like she's the happiest when she's in the studio doing music and making this music, not when she's out on a red carpet or being, doing signings and things like that. Like, she just wants to be making music. And Michael's the one who really kind of brought that to her attention and was like, this is when you're happiest, not when you're doing all the other things, the interviews, the press, whatever. Like, being in the studio, making music is what you love to do and what you were put on this earth to do. You're not obsessed with the fame, you're obsessed with the art. And I think it really shows who she is and where she's at. And as we're listening to this album, we really get to learn a new side of her. And in one of the interviews she did, she was saying that when you create art that people love, that you expect. And in one of the interviews she was doing for the album, she was saying how there's this fascination with a tortured artist and how people need to be sad to create great art. And all the music she put out for this album, there is kind of a sad gothic undertone to it. It is very dark. There's a darkness to it. And we'll get into a lot of like some of the themes of the album, but she's really battling with herself in most of these songs. They're conversations with herself and like her inner saboteur. So for her to, she said, she was like, we want artists to have this like tortured artist stigma because we want them to give us this art because people create great art when they're sad, which of course is true. But she said, she was like, I am not in that headspace anymore. I'm not a tortured artist, but I can still make music that has that tone to it. So again, we're really seeing this new mindset and era that Gaga is in. And it's fabulous to see. It's really heartwarming because it is somebody who has gone through so many different music styles, and she's been famous for years. It's been like 20 something years now. And, she's been ridiculed by the press for this, and she's been scrutinized for that. And she's really had like a whole kind of a very, what's the word I'm looking for? You guys know, it's Lady Gaga. Obviously, like the way that she came up in the pop music scene, like she was really like, people either loved it or hated it. And she got a lot of pushback and a lot of just like negative feedback. But with that came a lot of love as well. And that's where she's saying, she's like, yeah, I loved the fame and I loved all of that. But under all of it, the art is what was really driving me and fueling me to continue to do it. And I think Mayhem is the perfect depiction of that. So I think without further ado, let's hop into this album and just break this down, because as Lady Gaga says, music is the medicine of my mayhem, and God is the music on this album. Phenomenal. She kicks off the album with no other than Disease, which we all know and love. It was the first like official single that she put out for the album. Of course, Die With A Smile was technically the first look into the album, but we didn't know it was going to be on LG7 when it came out. So this was the first time that we were getting a single that we knew was confirmed for LG7, and we were like, all right, dark pop Gaga is back. Back when she was doing press for this song, she said that this song feels like the perfect way into the chaos of the album, which is kind of an exercise in chaos and the different sides of the person that I am. She said, to me, there's some kind of chaos in all of the ways that we try to analyze ourselves. Disease is the beginning of that. And it started with this little voice on my shoulder saying, there's no more tears to cry. I hear you begging for life, and that uncomfortable feeling that we can sometimes have when the voice in our head is not pleasant. So right off the bat, we're already seeing this idea of Gaga battling with her inner saboteur. And like I said a little while ago, there's a constant theme throughout this album of her really, it's a conversation with herself a lot of the album, and her talking to her inner monologue. And she even references an idea of like having multiple different versions of herself on Perfect Celebrity, where she's saying, she's like, yes, I'm Lady Gaga. I'm also Stephanie. I'm also this person. I'm that person. Like I said, she's lived so many lives in so many different eras, and not to say it's like a multiple personality thing, but like, because obviously that's not something to joke about, but you know, it gives that idea of like, she has these conversations with these different versions of herself. And that's a overarching theme that we see. You'll see as we go through these songs, there's so many different times throughout this album where she's singing to herself, and it's a reflection moment for herself. And it really shows that she's had these moments in the last few years that she's been working on this album, or just really the last however many years of her career, where she's saying this album is all encompassing of her career. She's really showing us that like what she's battled with and what still comes up in her head, what maybe was a thing of the past but still comes up here and then. Like, we really learned a lot about where she's at mentally, but also like where she's been mentally and how she's gotten to where she is now. Moving on, right off the bat, again, another theme that is throughout. She says, you're so tortured when you sleep, plagued with all your memories. Right off the bat, a series of those gothic dreams. She's pretty much giving us, this song perfectly sets the scene for the album. Of course, when we listened to it as a single and before it came out, we wouldn't have known how perfectly this song is going to completely just like give us, it really gives us the idea of the album completely throughout in one track. And then from there, we start to learn more and more and dive into different things, whether it's her being famous, whether it's her and her relationships, whether it's her and her music. And as we go through the album, we start to learn more about these different diseases, for lack of a better word, that she deals with. So I think the song just completely kicks off the album the exact way that it needs to. It not only does it like send the message of the entire album and like lets us know what we're in for, but it also sonically is just phenomenal. I love the way it like speeds up a little bit, it slows down for the bridge, and then she's like screaming into that final chorus. Like, there's such a, it takes you on a journey in the song within itself. So I think it stood so well as a standalone single in that first intro into Mayhem, but also now looking at it with the bigger project, it really just like kicks off this album in the perfect way. And moving into track number 2, another one that we know and love, Abracadabra. I mean, what's not to love about this song? It is classic, old school, weird Lady Gaga. As soon as Lady Gaga says the words Gaga in a song, you know she put everything she has into that track. Like, it is just like that. You know, it's like, oh, this is the Gaga that we wanted. This song is just phenomenal. When it came on during the Grammys, I don't think anybody could have expected what we were going to get when that was rumored. Like the whole, oh, Gaga's going to release something during the Grammys. Nobody could have predicted we were going to get that full music video, let alone a song that is exactly what we all have been wanting. Weird, dark, twisted, kind of makes you think a little bit. You really have to like think about what this song is about. It just gave us Gaga. It gave us that old school, Born This Way, Bad Romance. She's saying whatever the fuck she wants. She's making up spells. She's casting spells. She's witchy. She's this, she's that. People are saying she's a demon and she's summoning the devil again. Like, we are so back with Abracadabra. Now talking about what the song is actually about. The song is all about facing the challenge of life and the challenge of the night and finding the magic in it all. It's about dealing with that challenge to yourself and very often the world around us that can reflect it back to us as well. She wanted to explore the question, what does it feel like to thrive and not just be surviving all the time? And I mean, she's literally telling us, she's like, feel the beat under your feet, like dance, have fun, thrive, stop surviving and just live your life. Let go of all of these demons. Stop challenging yourself. You're your own biggest roadblock. And again, we start to see that idea of her battling with her inner saboteur and like her being her own worst enemy at certain points in her life. And it just like, I think after Disease and her like saying like, I can be your doctor, I can cure your disease. And now going into this, she's like, let go of it. Like, let the woman in red cast her spell, let her do her magic, and just let go and have fun. Start surviving. Start thriving and stop surviving. And taking a look at some of the lyrics, I mean, she says, save me from this empty fight in the game of light. She's saying this is an empty fight. This is a fight with myself that I need to be saved from. I need to go dance and let it out and let the lady in red cast a spell over me and just like let loose, because like she said, it's an empty fight in this game of light. She has this whole world where she's the biggest pop star in the world at certain points of her life. And she is, creating this art that nobody's done before. And it's really just like pushing the boundaries So what is this empty fight that I'm fighting? You know, what am I dealing with? What is this? What is inside of me? This demon, for lack of a better word, that is like stopping me from pursuing what I need to do, kind of thing, if that makes sense. Also, just disclaimer throughout, this is, though I did obviously do research and read into what she means from these songs, some of the lyric interpretations are how I'm interpreting them. I'm not saying this is exactly what Miss Stephanie Germanotta meant when she wrote this, when she put pen to paper. It's just how I'm interpreting it. And, art is subjective. So if anybody's going to come for me in the comments and be like, actually, if you look at this interview and this I know, I get it, I understand. Just we're having fun. I wasn't there when she wrote it down. I did my research. I did what I could, but it's also fun to take these lyrics and interpret them. That being said, I love how in the pre-chorus she said, with a haunting dance, now you're both in a trance, it's time to cast your spell on the night. And then we get that spell just a few seconds later with the chorus, where it's the abracadabra, nonsense mumbling that she's saying. It really like builds up to, we get the verses and we get kind of taken out of it for a second with those pre-choruses, with the lady in red moment and everything, and then she just hits us with the actual spell, and then as if it wasn't enough to get it the first time, she comes right back in with it for a second time after the chorus. And in my mind, like with the repeating of the abracadabra in the second part, I feel like in the first part it's the lady in red singing it, and she said like the lady in red is yourself, it's an inner demon that you're battling. And I think it's like when they say it the first time, the actual chorus, it's the lady in red singing it. And then it almost feels like in that post-chorus where it's like the faster part, and, in the music video when they're like speeding through and doing the cool little dance, it feels like that's her repeating it back. And like she's learned it, she's in a trance, it worked, and now she's feeling the beat, the floor is on fire, and she is just like letting go of all of these things and dancing. The story and like the monologue that we get kind of throughout this song, it really kind of like Disease tells us a full story, but then bleeds so perfectly into the rest of the album. Perfect track. I love this song. I love the video. I love the visual that she gave with it. I just love everything about the song. There is not one note that I have on anything relating to Abracadabra. Moving right along into track number 3, we have Garden of Eden. This is the first track that we have that we don't know on the album, and what a way to give us something new on this album. This track is so incredible. It is so strong. Right off the bat, she's saying, go get your friends and meet me on the floor. She wants us to dance. Like, she is making us dance through this mayhem the entire album. Like, she is like, you are going to deal with this inner saboteur with your own mayhem the same way I am. Get on the dance floor, go dance, and let's have fun. And you know what? Especially in today's world, that is exactly what we need. Something I really love about this track is the imagery that she paints with the poison apple metaphor imagery, where obviously with the Garden of Eden, it is a biblical story. So there is obviously Adam and Eve and the apple and, the whole shebang. I'm not getting religious on this podcast, but she's using that idea of a poison apple and saying like, oh, the poison apple, take a bite, I'll take you to the Garden of Eden. It kind of lets us in on this idea of her thinking that she is the poison apple and she is toxic in people's lives, like whether it's a platonic friendship or a emotional relationship. Like, she sees herself as this toxic, plagued kind of thing, a disease, if you will. And it kind of ties into messages throughout the album. And later on in Blade of Grass, she says like, can you handle me? Like, am I worthy of love? Almost, she's questioning it. And we see early in this album how she's dealing with that inner battle with herself and how she sees herself. I don't know if it's now or in the past or, just something in her head she used to deal with. I'm imagining, because I think she's in a really good place mentally, not to get parasocial, but I love that imagery and the way it's kind of a message throughout. She does a really good job at keeping these messages in the forefront of the album without just saying it in one way. She has so many ways to tell us how she's feeling and what she's feeling and what's going on in her head in different ways. And I think it just really shows to her artistry and what she wanted to do with the lyrics and the production and everything. Like, she really dipped into that pool, the artistry pool, and brought us all of these messages and themes throughout without beating a dead horse, for lack of a better word. I absolutely love the vocal choice she did when she says that I've been getting this familiar feeling like I've known you my whole life. When she like flips to that higher register, it just like, oh, because there's like that darkness of like a I'll take you to the Garden of Eden. Where like she gets a little lower with it. She goes into that lower register and then she flips it in the chorus. Oh, it like scratches an itch in my brain. It's so good. And even in that line, I love the idea of her saying like, I know this feeling, I've been here before and it's something I've known my whole life. She's saying, she's like, this isn't new. This is something I've dealt with forever. And looking back at her idea of like wanting this to be breathing life into every album or piece of work she's put out, she's saying like, this is something I deal with over and over and over. This isn't new. This isn't a you thing. It's a me thing. And I mean, vocal decision aside, I love that line. I think it, again, really paints the picture of where she's at and what she's dealt with mentally. Also just like it's just so fun the way she's like I'll to take you. I know we just talked about it, but that it's just fun. Like it's got that funky guitar behind it. It just so well produced. It has such a nice, the way her voice and the guitar kind of like bleed together. It has such a cool sound to it. And then that outro at the end, my God, it is so fun. To me, it like takes you on the journey. It's like, all right, you took the bite of the apple and now you are tripping out and you have this poison and you're like feeling it on the dance floor. And it like, cause it kind of goes a little slow and then it like picks up and has that weird like electro sound to it. It's like, that's when the poison hits and you're like picking back up and you're on the dance floor and you're dancing and you're just kind of like, fuck it. Let's go along for the ride. Take them to the Garden of Eden and let's have some fun. I just love this track. Such a fun song and so many cool little production things between like the guitar, the vocal things. There's a lot happening in this song and it works so incredibly well. Moving into track number 4. Now, this is a big one. This is Perfect Celebrity. And this was actually the working title for the album. And also Gaga called it the angriest song that she has ever done. This really ties into that idea of fame versus art, where back in the day, she wanted to be famous. And now she's like, no, I want to be an artist. I want to be remembered for the music and the artistry that I have, not for when I'm hanging from the ceiling at the VMAs or wearing a meat dress or, doing these crazy things and doing, the theatrics of it. That is her artistry, of course. But, those are fame moments, I almost feel like. And now she's like, no, I want to be remembered for the musical decisions I did. Because even looking back at all the music she put out back in the day, there's so much musicality in those tracks and the production, the lyrics, everything she did was so well thought out. But of course it came with like this like crazy pack the punch kind of character persona with it, the outfit, if you will, as she referred to it as. And the thing I love most about this track are the tie-ins and the callbacks to previous eras. I feel like this was the song where she does it the most. And I mean, it's literally a song about being a celebrity in her career, so it makes sense why she does it. But she does it in a really cool way where she says, I made of plastic like a human doll. Immediately, I think Chromatica, a plastic doll, where in that song she's saying, I'm not your plastic doll. Here she's saying, I'm made of plastic like a human doll. And later in the song, she says, you push and pull me, I don't hurt at all. So she's saying she's numb to it. She is numb to all of the glitz and the glam and the fame and the whatever people are going to throw at her. Like, she's numb to it. She is a plastic doll. She's the perfect celebrity. She is just going to she's going to go and she's going to make you money. She'll make you laugh. Like, she's literally saying, she's like, I'm numb. I don't feel any of this anymore. Lay it on me. I'm the perfect celebrity because I can take it all. And then another tie-in that she has is she says, sit in the front row, watch the princess die, which if you don't know, Princess Die is an art pop album cut. She actually performed it a few times on the Born This Way ball. I think like 2 or 3 times maybe. And she loved it. She loved the song. There was great fan response, but a lot of people persuaded her not to release it because of the obviously tie-ins to Princess Diana and how, the UK is very, sensitive on those subjects. So it was kind of a like, maybe we don't put this one out. So her referencing that song and kind of art pop has a dark kind of aura to it. There was a lot of pain, I feel like, in that album and like in the creation of it as she was doing the Born This Way ball and like getting ready for that album to come out. So for her to reference that, I mean, there's so many reactions on TikTok or in YouTube. People are like, when that lyric came out, they're all like, oh my God, because it's like, you know thing. But again, her really tying in these past eras and breathing life into the project that she's done in the past. And then she said, choke on the fame. I hope it gets you high. Not only is she saying, obviously, like, choke on the fame because she's over the fame, but the fame is obviously her first album. So another tie in there. And again, this is how she's feeling with fame in this moment in her life. She doesn't care about it. You can choke on it, get high off of it. She's numb. She's not feeling it. None of the fame is doing anything for her anymore because she is just a perfect celebrity. You can do whatever you want and she's not going to feel it because she's numb. And later on in the song, she says, you say I love you, I disintegrate. Again, that idea of her not being able to accept love, not knowing what she deserves, not knowing if she's worthy of it. Somebody says, I love you, and she disintegrates. She falls apart. She can't handle it. So again, there's that message there. And then just like the song in itself, the anger and like the way the breakdowns and like the way it kind of like, it has like this like real rock grunge vibe to it. There is such an emotion and a feeling and an anger, a true anger in her voice, but also in the production of this song. And she's screaming. She's like, you love to hate me. She's screaming it into the mic at this point. And then we get this like call and response in the chorus where she's like singing the main track. And then underneath it is like perfect celebrity. They're like, it's like she's saying these things to the public or to whoever, and they're just responding back with like, you're the perfect celebrity. Like there's like a call and response. So it's like, she's giving us this art, she's giving us these emotions, and all everybody's doing is like, oh, she's the perfect celebrity, we're taking it from her, this is what we want. She's giving us exactly, us being like the media, I guess, is exactly what they want. She's lashing out, she's angry, she's giving us these emotions, and they're feeding on it, and we're seeing her being like, nope, you know what, I am numb, I'm done, this does not faze me. And the fact that this was almost the title of the album, I am glad that she did decide to pivot. I do think Mayhem does put a better kind of all-encompassing like message for the album, if that makes sense. With Perfect Celebrity, it kind of does, where she's saying that she wants this album to be more about the art and not the fame. If she was to name it Perfect Celebrity, it kind of, celebrity and fame are like synonymous, so it wouldn't really give the effect of, hey, I want you to hear the artistry and the songwriting, the production on this album, versus remember that I'm Lady Gaga and who I am, and like putting the name to it. So I think it was a really good decision of her to pivot and not use it as the title of the album. But I think this song is such a look into her relationship, where she's at with fame and how she feels with being a celebrity, and like all of the scrutiny and the, backlash that comes with it. There's obviously so many benefits to being celebrity. You're rich and you get all this love and fans love you and support, but at the same time, it can be all taken away from you, and it can all completely just like wreck your life. And people are always want to know your next move. And even think about like at the Olympics, she was like, oh, this is my fiance, Michael. And she wasn't saying it to a camera. She said it to somebody in the stands. Instantly, that video went viral, and that's how everybody found out she was engaged. Like that's not normal. You know what I mean? Like that's not a normal way for things to roll out with an engagement. So it's exactly, we're seeing like these things that she of course has the glitz and the glam and the money and the love and the whatever. And it's like all she's ever wanted. But at the same time, it's like, at what cost? Which even Princess Diana, we see exactly there. We all know how Princess Diana died. Like there's such a darkness to it. And I think she has a really good grasp and a really good idea of the separation of it, and like where it gets too dark versus where it's like, okay, we can enjoy the benefits of being famous or whatever in a certain way. It seems like she's like dancing with that idea now. And after being in the industry for how many years now? We're going on almost 20, which is crazy. She's kind of got a really good hold on what she feels with that. Moving into track number 5, Vanish Into You, a apocalyptic love song, as Lady Gaga says. She described it as a happy love song with a dark undertone. She actually said it was the first song that she wrote for Mayhem, and Saw Your Face in Mine in a Picture by Your Bedside, It Was Cold in the Summertime, is one of her favorite lyrics she's ever written. She said, I just imagine that I want to disappear into the person that I love the most, which is such like a beautifully dark, twisted, haunting way to look at love. Like you love somebody so much, you just want to vanish into them and disappear and become one you know? Like she said, this is an apocalyptic love song. And when I hear this and I think like, saw your face and mine in a picture by your bedside, it was cold in the summertime. Like she's looking at a photo of these two people on her bedside table and it's cold in the summertime. So it almost makes me feel like there's like a false reality almost, maybe like maybe this is existing in a different universe. Maybe this isn't reality. It's just like something she's envisioning and she's dreaming of. One of the lyrics that kind of like speaks to that, she says, two lovers regret their time. Once in a blue moon, I forget you. And once in your life, you'll be mine. So to me, I almost am like, there's a universe where these two aren't together, or maybe they're not together yet. And she's waiting for it. She's longing for this relationship. She says, do you see me? Do you see me now? I've been waiting for you, crying out. It's like she's been waiting for this love and she's been envisioning this. She's been seeing this picture of the two of them on her bedside table, maybe just in her head. You know, maybe it's just something she's envisioning and dreaming and hallucinating or something. And she's been waiting for this love for so long. She's crying out, do you see me? Do you see me now? Like, when is this, you know, I've been waiting for you, crying out. There's a really like I said, a dark kind of side to this love story. And the verses have kind of like a Fame Monster sound to them. There's kind of like that like dark, funky, kind of grungy pop, if you will, in the verses. And then she comes in with this like ballad vocal technique during the chorus that really just like throws you from the tone of the verses. It's really, there's really like a journey in this song, and you can feel her emotion as she's singing this song. It's also the first time on the album we kind of are like slowing down a bit. It's not that it's a slower song, but when you look at the first three tracks, Disease, Abracadabra, Garden of Eden, and then Perfect Celebrity, the first three are so dancey and so, you know, dark pop and weird and fun and funky, and then Perfect Celebrity is so angry and has that angst behind it. This is the first time, I mean, that opening line where she's almost like a cappella singing that saw your face and mine line, it really like takes us out for a second. You're like, oh whoa, we just went through like anger and dealing with our inner saboteur, and now we're sad, question mark, but it's not a sad song. It's, you know, there's a lot of different emotions that are being emulated through this track, and this is the first time where you're kind of taken out of the album and starting to see the mayhem of it all. Like, this is where it starts to see like, okay, wait, how are we getting from Disease to Die With A Smile? And is this kind of like that bridge to it where we're getting a little slowed down vibe? Really cool the way that she does this through this album. And like she said, it kind of, this album is supposed to take you on a journey from the devil on your shoulder. It takes you through anger, through joy, through happiness, and then it ends with that happy Die With A Smile at the end, which we'll get to. But I love this song. I think it is so beautiful. I think there's such like an emotion behind it. And a lot of people online are finding parallels from the lyrics of this song to a lot of Tony Bennett's music. So there's the idea of this being maybe not two lovers, maybe it's two platonic soulmates, which, you know, hard to say whether that's true or not, but really cool to see like the parallels there. And of course, Tony was such an inspiration. And like I said earlier in the episode, where maybe we're not seeing these tributes to people through a sound or a production choice, but rather through the lyrics or something. This is something where we could see that kind of tribute there. I don't know if I fully am on board with that, but it is a cool concept. And again, art is subjective. It's cool to be able to have different meanings to a song and be able to interpret it however you want, kind of thing. But yeah, love this track. And then this is like a kind of like the crash out before it picks up again. It's like we have the three dance tracks, we have the anger, we have this kind of like emotional roller coaster, and then Killah. Killah is my favorite song on the album. It was my favorite song the first time I heard it. It has been my favorite throughout. Nothing on this album is topping Killah for me. Let's get into it. So first things first, it is featuring Staffelstein, who is an artist that Lady Gaga says she is wanting to work with for years. He is also credited as a composer or producer on Garden of Eden, Perfect Celebrity, and Blade of Grass. So for her to be, you know, having this like bucket list kind of moment on this album is incredible. And she said it is the proudest song that she has on this album. And this one, sonically, is I feel like the first one where we really hear that student of music come through. That melody and guitar riff is so David Bowie, and people were saying it might be a sample of David Bowie's song Fame, which again, tying into the Fame, her past projects. I couldn't find anything like on paper saying they sampled it, because they do have to obviously put that down and like say, oh, we sampled this song. But there is a very similar melody and guitar riff to it. And I mean, again, in the title, the fame, like it just, again, breathing life into past things and really checking the boxes on so many things that she wanted to do with this album. So many layers in that just by itself. And then this song just keeps the party going. She said herself that this is the song, this is the part of the party where you're a little bit numbed out and you just kind of like go crazy. You're like, you know what? Let's go. The poison from that apple that I bit back in Garden of Eden had hit me. I had my crash out and now I'm gonna party. We had a downer and now we're getting an upper. I think it's really funny the contrast between Vanish Into You into Killah, not just sonically, but also like when you listen to the lyrics and the meaning of the song, where Vanish Into You is this like beautiful love song where she's like confessing her love and she wants to become one with her partner, whoever she's singing about. And then in this one, she's like, okay, but I also just like want to jump your bones. She's like, I'm a full-time bedroom demon. I'll make you scream as a matter of fact. She's like, I'm going to make the curtains cream. I'm going to get the ceiling shaking just for me. Like she is ready to get down. She says, I'm looking at you like a zombie killer hungry for a homicide. She is hungry for this man. She's gonna get what she wants. I also couldn't help but think of Monster when I heard the lyric, if I get you alone under your skin and bone, I'm gonna try you on for size. On Monster, where she's saying, he ate my heart and then he ate my brain. Where on that track, she's saying like, oh, this boy's the monster. Now she's the monster. She's gonna get you alone. She's gonna try you on. She's gonna wear your skin, wear your bones, and just like become the monster herself, I guess. Again, this is all just me speculating. I don't know if there's any tie or anything. It's just what I thought of when I heard these lyrics. And then through the song, it kind of builds up to the moment where she finally gets him home. And then we get my favorite part of the entire album, that breakdown. Oh my God. Oh my God, it is so good the way it slows down, it picks up, it goes crazy, she's screaming, the guitar picks up, she's banging on the drums. It is perfectly produced music. It is so good. And similar to that Garden of Eden outro, it gives us like she like tells us what's going on in the song and then we feel it in that outro. She really like brings us into the track with these certain outros and instrumentals that make you feel what she's going through in the song. And when I heard this outro for the first time, I truly was losing my shit. If you didn't listen to my episode last week, I was saying I went to a House of Yes release party for the album. So we were listening to the album for the first time in a club, which was such a cool experience. And when this song specifically came on, we had obviously been there for a while. We were drinking, we were, doing other things, and it just like hit at the perfect time. And me and my friend were on the dance floor and like we were like going nuts for the song because we were like, this is so cool. It's a different sound that we haven't had on the album yet. Again, adding to the mayhem. And when that breakdown came on, we like grabbed each other's arms and we're just like literally jaws on the floor, like jumping, going crazy because we were like, what are we listening to? This is fucking insane. And it's what makes music so cool. There's such a emotion that you have behind it. And I will remember that forever because I truly like had to catch my breath after. I was like, that was crazy. That breakdown is just so perfectly done and it just adds such a fun moment to it. And then we just have that simple ending, Killah. Like it just ends. It's, we have like she has the few little vocal stems throughout it and then it's just Killah. I also love how she starts the song and ends it on the same note with the title. Very simple, very easy. We just like, she almost like introduces herself and then like gives herself an outro. Also, she is so true New Yorker, making the song Killah and not ER. She's like, oh, my New York accent is coming through on this track. Fucking love this song so much. Perfect song. Cannot get enough. I don't think any song on this album will ever become number one to me when this song exists. It is phenomenal. Moving right along, we have ZombieBoy. So this right off the bat is a tribute to Rick Genest, aka ZombieBoy, who is the man who's like fully tattooed in the Born This Way music video. And in her Rolling Stone interview, when they asked about it, she said, I think that Rick was just an inspiring person. When I was working on this song, which is ultimately a big celebration song, that word just popped into my head. And the song is all about the moment in the night when you and your friends all realize that you're going to wake up not feeling well the next day because you're having too much fun. So it's about being a zombie in the morning. But I think that, of course, he was such an inspiration. And that also speaks to that idea of the way she's paying tribute on this album, where, yeah, this song is named after this person who obviously played a big role in her life, and especially in the Born This Way era, but it's not a song about loss. It's not a song about, if you don't know, he passed away a few years ago, I think like 2018. But this isn't a song about loss at all. It's literally a celebration. But through this album, she pays tribute to all these people in her life in kind of subtle ways. So if you do look back at the lyrics and kind of tie it in Vanish Into You, maybe it is about Tony Bennett. This song is literally named after ZombieBoy, but it's not about him dying. She really does kind of show her appreciation for other people's art in this album in a really unique way, which I really love. And like she said, this song is a celebration. You know, you're having fun, you were out with your friends. This album is all about just dancing through the mayhem, dancing through life, not to make a wicked pun, but like dancing in the chaos, which is really what Gaga has always been about, just dancing through the dark times, and like whatever you got to do to get through, get on the dance floor and you will find your way to the other side. And I mean, can we talk about the chant at the beginning? Because oh my God, it is so much fun. And it really just like sets the precedent for the song. I mean, literally she said, we about to be up all night waking up a zombie. So put your paws all over me, you zombie boy. Like she is literally saying like, we're going to be up all night. Let's get rowdy. Also, immediately I hear put your paws all over me. I think of, again, Monster, where she says, get your paws right off of me. And if we think back to Killah, where I said is kind of the opposite, and where on Monster, the boy is the monster and now she's the monster. On the original track, she's saying, get your paws right off of me. Now she's saying, put your paws all over me. So it's kind of that like the flip kind of it. Again, this is all just me tying comparisons to it, but it's just like how my mind works and like how I'm, you know, piecing the album together with the idea of like breathing life into past projects. And then also speaking of Killah, on Killah, where she says, looking at you like a zombie killer, now she's talking about ZombieBoy. So it kind of has not even just a callback to past project, but she's already referencing other parts of the album in this album. So it's a cool kind of like a little like a thread throughout, that there's a fun little play on different songs throughout this album. So I love that artistry there. And she's like on a hunt. She is out. She's with the girls. She's having fun. They are drinking. Like she said, there's a celebration. They're going to wake up like zombies, but there's also like a hunter kind of element to this where, you know, he's an animal and she says, you want this kitty? He's a lion. And like, there's just this cat and mouse game. And, you know, we've all been there where we're out for the night and we make eyes with somebody across the room and you're like, oh, you're coming home with me. But it's that like cat and mouse kind of game. She's playing this in this song and it's fun. And it just, we've all had those nights. So it really just, it's something we've all been through. So I love that messaging. She also said, I can't see straight, but the feeling's right. Again, she's going to regret this in the morning, but you know what? It feels right now. Let's just do it. Let's go for it. I can be your vibe from your zombie bite. She is all in, ready for this zombie boy to put his paws all over her. Love it. So much fun. And then we kind of slow it down a little bit with LoveDrug. So we're really seeing an ebb and flow with this album. And not that LoveDrug is a slow song, but just in comparison to Killah, ZombieBoy, where it came before it, we're kind of getting that like crash out again that we had with Vanish Into You. And I think this song has my favorite lyrics on the entire album. There's really a poetic writing to it. And again, really speaking to that artistry that Gaga wants to shine on this album. Right off the bat, I mean, it opens with a river in my eyes. I've got a poem in my throat. I hear the music and it takes me by surprise. There's a river in her eyes. She's ready to cry, a poem in her throat. She has so much to say, but she's not going to say it yet. You know, she's ready to speak to whoever it is and whoever's love drug that she needs, but it's not coming out yet. Then she hears a song and it takes me by surprise. You know, when you're in the car, you're out somewhere and you're maybe going through something and that one song comes on that's just gonna like break the camel's back. We have all been there. So I love that. I love the way that she painted this picture there. She also says, I know this time I won't escape these thoughts in my head. Again, we're seeing so much of that inner monologue that she's battling with. She can't escape these thoughts in her head. And she's been here before, like we've seen throughout the album, but she's really doubling down on so much of this album being about her inner monologue. And then we get to the chorus. She says, I don't want to feel, I don't want to cry. So I'm just going to dance until I feel all right. I just need a dose of the right stuff. I just need a hit of your love drug. again, that message of dancing through the pain and not wanting, she doesn't want to feel, she doesn't want to cry. She's going to dance through this emotion, but all she needs is a hit of the right stuff. She just needs your love drug. So she's longing for that person or whoever it may be that she's stopping herself from. She, that inner battle she's having, she's the roadblock, she's the disease that is stopping her from what she needs, but she's not going to feel it tonight. She's going to go out, she's going to dance, she's going to feel like a zombie tomorrow. This is kind of the crash out from ZombieBoy. Like, she's out, she's going crazy, she's doing the thing, and then boom, burnout, crash. She's like, fuck, I'm just gonna dance, but all I need is him. I don't need that poison apple from Garden of Eden. I don't need any of that. I need your love drug. And just so many fun callbacks in this album. I really love the artistry throughout. There's really a really cool, like I just said, like a thread throughout a lot of these songs that just connects them all and makes it all that much more special and much more deeper message within this album. Another lyric that I absolutely love: I taste the last words that you spoke to me like wine. Oh my God, I taste the last words that you spoke to me like wine. I mean, beautiful writing. She's the last thing you said to me, it tastes like wine, because she's drowning out the last things that was said to her with wine. That's all it tastes like. And that she's just like numbing this pain. Beautifully written lyric. I love that. Also, a little fun tie-in that we all noticed: LoveDrug, the way it's spelled, is also the same way that Love Game is spelled, which again, breathing life into these past projects. Really, really cool the way she did this without doing it so obviously. It was just LoveDrug, no space between it, with a capital D, just like Love Game. And just like looking at the lyrics of Love Game and then looking at this album where she said on Love Game, do you want love or do you want fame? It's kind of that same idea of like the art versus the fame. And is it the love that you want, or is it the fame I'm getting? Is it the art that I'm after, or is it the fame? Is it the love that you're after, or is it my fame? And now just like pulling out of it and thinking in real time with Michael, her fiance, he was literally a cancer research doctor, I believe, before they started dating, or probably still is, I'm sure. Had no famous ties. Like, it wasn't like they met like through a Grammys party. She literally got introduced to him by her mother. Like, he had no ties to any fame, celebrityness, none of that. And then that's definitely something you have to wonder about. Like, is somebody just a clout chaser? Is somebody coming into this relationship just looking to be lifted up, to have a name, to have a platform? I mean, we've seen it so many times. Britney Spears, Demi Lovato. We've seen so many people get with people who aren't necessarily famous or, in the public eye as much. And then they kind of use them for that platform. And I mean, it's tale as old as time. So it kind of, we see that kind of back and forth there. So just again, another fun little tie that we see. Next up, we have probably the song that threw people for the loop the most, I would say, on this album, How Bad Do You Want Me? Now, this track almost wasn't on the album, and thank God that it was, because I love this track. That is textbook pop music. It is so incredibly good. So Gaga said the reason she almost didn't put this on the album is because when she goes a little too poppy, she gets worried how people are going to receive it. She said she felt the same way about Just Dance. And I mean, look at Just Dance now. Thank God she put that on the album. And of course, everybody hears a synthy pop song and immediately thinks Taylor Swift. And I'm not going to deny the similarities between this song and 1989 or any of, Taylor's more like synthy kind of pop things. And you guys know 1989 is my favorite Taylor Swift album, so it's a no-brainer that I love this song. But you also can't deny the fact that like Lady Gaga's done this before. If you listen to the Fame, she has Nothing Else I Can Say, and then she has Summer Boy, which are these like classic poppy, like breathy, synthy kind of songs. So of course, yes, there are the similarities, and Gaga just hasn't done this in years, but it's not her first time doing these. So of course, everyone's like, oh my God, she's trying to take Taylor's nachos, which I'm like, can we put the nachos to rest? But they're all saying it. And I'm like, no. Know your history, go back and do your homework, because this is not a new thing for Gaga. That being said, this song, the lyrics, everything about it is phenomenal. So there's this characterization of this bad girl who is wearing ripped up jeans, which of course is like, you wear ripped jeans and suddenly you're a rebel and a bad person. She said that this was a feeling that Gaga has her whole life, being the bad girl and at war with her lover, being stuck with the good girl, bad girl comparison. And it's this idea of like, is this the love that you want, or do you want me to be somebody else? Are you really longing for a different person and you're just settling for me, or are you hoping that I become the person that you want in the future? Which again, that whole idea of her not being worthy of love, or her not being worthy, like her not being enough almost. And just on the theme of like a series of gothic dreams, in this song she says the good girl in your dreams, and she also says that you panic in your sleep. So there's that good girl in your dreams. I immediately think Perfect Celebrity, where she says the clone on the sleep on the ceiling. Like, is that the person that you want? Or I'm pointing to my ceiling as if there's a clone up there. Can tell you guys there is not, but she's like, you know, I see this clone of myself on the ceiling when my partner is asleep next to me. Are you dreaming of the good girl in your dreams? Because you're also panicking in your sleep. You know, it's like, what do you want? What's going on? It's this series of gothic dreams, which again, beautiful way to tie this theme throughout the entire album. She said she's on your mind all the time, but I got a tattoo for us last week. She's all in. She got a tattoo for you, but you're dreaming about somebody else. She's like, are you fully committed to me? Because I have a permanent tattoo on my arm, wherever it is, for us, and you're dreaming about my clone and this good girl persona. So again, that battle with, is it me that you want, or are you just dealing with me because I'm in front of you? And the chorus just kind of perfectly sums up the entire message of the song when she says, could you hate the crash, but you love the rush? I'll make your heart weak every time you hear my name, because she's in your brain and I'm here to kiss you in real life. So they hate the crash. He hates like the come down of, you know, when they're lovey-dovey, when they're good, they're great, but when they're bad, it's not. But he loves that rush of the relationship. And then she says, I'll make your heart weak every time you hear my name. She's in your brain, but I'm the one here to kiss you. Like, I'm what's giving you the reality of this, but she's the one in your brain. So how bad do you want me? Do you really want me? And then she kind of emphasizes it again in the bridge where she says, you love a good girl bad, but you make a bad girl mad. I love that kind of the flip. You love a good girl bad. He's down bad for this good girl persona, but he's making the bad girl, Gaga, mad and making her crazy over this. And then she kind of like, the part where she kind of like, it like tones down a bit and almost like snaps you out of reality, where she's like, that girl in your head ain't real. How bad do you want me for real? It kind of like snaps you out of this like dreamy pop song that we're in, and is like, wake up. She like slaps him. She's like, hello, like, the girl in your head isn't real. How bad do you want me? Like, do you want me for real or not? Because otherwise, I gotta go. I love that. And then just throughout, she calls it a psychotic love theme. I love that. I love a psychotic love theme as like a way to call a toxic relationship. I think it's such a beautiful, poetic way to talk about something that is so dark and twisted, which is what she does this entire album. Moving on to Don't Call Tonight. This to me is like the response of how bad do you want me? She's asking him, how bad do you want me? Am I the one that you want, or is this girl in your head? And then he says it, and she's like, don't call me. She's like, don't talk to me, don't call me. Absolutely not. There's a toxicity in this love story that she's talking about. They had a fight. She's driving home and she's like, do not talk to me tonight because I cannot believe what you've said. She says, you pull me close and knock me down, and I beg you to come back around. I'm so addicted to your lies. In the mirror, I get weak from the girl staring back at me. They're your eyes. That's Killah. That is literally Killah. We are seeing a story. She says in Killah, let me scroll back to my notes. If I get you home alone under your skin and bones, I'm gonna try you on for size. In this, she says, I'm looking in the mirror and I see your eyes. She's like, she's wearing this man. She is literally vanishing into him, becoming him, looking in the mirror. And even though they're in a fight and she doesn't want him to call, she still sees him because they are one. She has vanished into him. She has gotten him home. She's a Killah. And now she's like, I hate this man. Don't call me. there's a real toxicity in this relationship. And whether this is her talking about a real life thing or this is a relationship with herself, that's another thing I think of. I'm like, there's another world in which this is just her talking about having this battle with herself. You know, it's because of course her and Michael are so happy and she talks so highly of him and like they're best friends and everything. Like there's clearly this toxicity that she's thinking about isn't necessarily about her current relationship. So it does kind of give that idea of like, okay, wait, is she singing about herself? Is this a past thing? Like what's going on? And to me, I see that idea of like her singing it to her past self, but also that inner monologue kind of thing. She goes on to say, don't call tonight because tomorrow you'll desert me. I can hear everything you're saying from there. So she's like, I know what you were going to say to me. We've done this dance before. We've been down this road. Don't call me because tomorrow you're just going to desert me for the good girl or for whoever you want that's not me. She says, the sun is rising and we're out of light. We twist the knife too many times to say goodbye. It's like they've done this fight so many times. The knife is twisted so many times that they can't even pull it out anymore. They're stuck with each other almost. They're in this tango that they can't get out of because they just keep going back to each other. There's this like pull between the two of them they cannot get rid of, even though they know that they're not good for each other. And then just like the final note for this, I love the way the bridge speeds up and it really feels like her mind is racing a million miles a minute, kind of tying into the idea of her like driving home and like just like, you know, after a fight and you're on your way home, you're driving, you're walking home, your mind is racing so fast. And the bridge rather, is so fast and it really picks up where the rest of the song has not a slow tempo, but it has like a very normal pace tempo to it, and then the bridge just like picks it up and it's her mind racing and all these things, and she finally just like called out, she's like, oh, don't call tonight because you're gonna desert me tomorrow. You know, there's a lot of breakthroughs in each of these songs where she like has these moments of almost self-doubt or these moments of like inner reflecting, and then she breaks it with like a killer rendition of the chorus. And I think it's such a fun way to snap you out of the song and kind of like snap you back to reality. And now we make it back to student of music, class is in session with Shadow of a Man, because this literally could be a Michael Jackson song. This is exactly what she means when she says that she is drawing inspiration from these artists and paying homage and reminding us of how well she has studied the artists that have inspired her for her entire life. Because this literally, you hear it and you're like, oh my God, this sounds like a Michael Jackson song, which is it's not an easy feat. Michael Jackson is quite literally a once in a lifetime artist. So for her to be able to kind of take that artistry and that idea, very impressive. This is also the song that we heard at the end of the Chromatica movie when she said LG7 is coming. Remember there was like, she did that like dance thing. She even did kind of like not a moonwalk, but she did like a very Michael Jackson inspired dance before she left the stage that night. And then in the movie it flashes LG7 is coming or whatever it had said. So cool to see that this was the first real dip into what Mayhem was going to be. Who knows what it was back then when she teased it, but this was the real first look into what Mayhem would become. So kind of cool to see that, you know, she was already leaning into this artistry side of her and this like student of music, even back then before the album was even fully into fruition. And she said this song is a response to her career and standing in the shadow of a man and being the only woman in a room. I mean, there's nothing else to say. It is the oldest story in the book that every industry is dominated by men, and men are, really the ones who are calling the shots, which, we've definitely gotten better with. There's definitely more of a female balance now, but all of these CEOs and these big people, it's mostly men, unfortunately. And so as a female pop star, especially, and like we've seen so many pop stars go through such horrific things with some of these producers or these record people. And like, she's saying, she's like, I'll dance in the shadow of a man. And again, that idea of dancing through life, even though you might not win every single time, you dance through it, you dance in the shadow of this man and you get through and you do what you got to do. I won't be used for my love and then left out to cry. I don't want to fade into the darkness tonight. I mean, she's saying, she's like, I don't want to be left out to dry. I don't want to be used, whether it's for love, whether it's for my art, whether it's for my talent, whether it's for my ideas, my brain, whatever it is, and then left out to dry. She's like, so I'll just dance in the shadow of a man and, keep pursuing on and dancing through life and just like finding peace in the mayhem that is her life. One of my favorite lyrics on the album is in this song. She says, it's hard to be the yellow in a purple sky peeking through the eye of the storm. I just love that idea of like the sun peeking through during, a hurricane or a dark night or a storm, the storm or the sky obviously being like the greater mass of the men that she is like battling in this career or whatever it may be. And she's like peeking through because she's the only woman in the room. She's the only one who's there to like bring new light and bring new ideas to whatever table she's sitting at. And then the final thing on this song, she says, I can't ignore the voice within. And again, it's just there's so many callbacks to her having conversations with herself and this inner monologue that she's really struggling with in her life that has always been there and has always been this inner issue that she's dealt with. And like, maybe it's just me, but like I didn't realize how much of her self-doubt exists almost, and how much of a roadblock to herself that she is. Obviously, you know, I've seen the documentaries, I've listened to the interviews, I know there's an inner saboteur, and you know, you hear it all the time with these artists, and everybody says they're their own biggest critic. But on this album, we're really seeing that like this is something that has been the biggest roadblock for her over the last year, the last few years, her whole career, her whole life. Like she is an artist who really does come off so confident, you know, and so feels so sure about what she's doing. You know, she takes these artistic risks. So to see her dealing with this so much on this album, it really goes to kind of open up that conversation of like, this is what I'm dealing with, this is what I'm going through, and I'm my biggest enemy. You know, I might be dancing in the shadow of a man, but I still can't turn that voice off in my head that's telling me what to do or what not to do, or the devil on my shoulder, as she said, is like the message of this album as well. There's a lot of that play just really throughout this album. And now moving into these final 3 tracks of the album. So we have The Beast, Blade of Grass, and Die With a Smile. We really get that idea again of like getting taken out of this chaos and this craziness of the beginning start of the album. And, you know, we get slowed down, we speed up, we have a real journey, and we're ending it on a slower, not sweeter, but like a slower kind of note, which is what I was saying at the beginning of the episode, where I was saying I'll eat my words on Die With a Smile not fitting on this album, because through these last 3 tracks, they fit with the album so perfectly, and they still encompass the messaging and the themes of the album without fully sounding like the rest of the album. So let's get into The Beast. This, again, another song all about herself. She's saying, who am I when I turn into the beast? When I'm making music and I'm on stage, I turn into this beast, I turn into this monster, and I can't hide who I am. She repeats over and over, you can't hide who you are, 11:59. And it's like painting this photo of like a werewolf coming to life almost. You know, it's like the clock strikes midnight and you turn into this beast. And she said in one of her interviews, she was saying that when she was writing this album, when her and Michael, because Michael is a writer on a lot of these songs, she was becoming herself, and she was becoming this beast again. And it was a beast that Michael had never seen before, because it's the first album that she's writing while they're together. And it's the first album that she's really like digging back into those old kind of vibes and like music styles, I guess you can say. And she has that idea of like, is this somebody that you're going to love? Are you still going to love the beast even though you haven't met them yet? You know, and that self-doubt again. But she's saying, turn on the music, turn off the lights. I want to feel the beast inside. I know you're hungry, ready to bite. I want to watch you turn tonight. She's ready to let this beast out. And I think Michael really helped her release this beast, for lack of a better words. And she's lived so many characters. You know, she's had so many personas, like I said, Joanne, Chromatica, Art Pop, The Fame, so many different personas that have created this beast and kind of painted this image of who she is. And like she said, all these outfits that she's worn through these albums. And that is who the beast is. It's all of those, all encompassing of her career, just fully unleashing and becoming Lady Gaga and this new image, or not image, but this new artist that she's trying to become, or is becoming, through the artistry and the production of this album. And you can hear there's a lot of grit, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of emotion in her voice. And I love when she uses that in her voice. It really helps add to the emotions of the song. And in this song, she's saying, I'm hungry, I'm ready to bite, I'm ready to unleash this beast. And I think that anger and grit in her songs, in her voice rather, really speaks to the message of the song. So she did a really good job at like writing this kind of slower, almost ballady song, but still having that anger almost. This is almost like the flip side of Perfect Celebrity in a way, where this is still angry, but it's a little more beautiful, and she's dealing with herself versus the public dealing with her, if that makes sense. Really, really interesting track for this album, but I think it really helps start to put the bow on the end of the album as we near the end. Moving on to Blade of Grass. This is the song completely dedicated to Michael. If you didn't hear the story, he asked her one day, they were sitting in their backyard, and he said, when I propose to you, how do you want me to do it? And she said, just go pick a blade of grass and wrap it around my finger. And that's the entire message of this. And in this song, again, even while they're talking about getting engaged, he's literally saying, how do you want me to propose to you? And she's like, you could wrap a blade of grass around my finger. She's still doubting if she's worthy of it, if he really wants her for who she is, or if it's not what she expects. And she says, how does a man like me love a woman like you? Again, that idea of like Gaga being famous and him not, like, how did they come to this? Is this really what they want? Is this really the situation that they're in? And are they all in or are they all out? Is how bad do you want me? Is this what you want? Or are you obsessed with the idea of it? And of course, she has said so many times that like they are such good friends before they are partners. So I think there's no doubt that this is clearly, they're engaged. There's clearly a true love there. So I think it's a really cool way for her to still say like, yeah, we were talking about getting engaged, but I was still second guessing if this was right, if he wanted this, if I wanted this, like what was going on. She said, hold me until I die and I'll make you feel brand new. I've been lonely in this field, fighting a battle with no shield, wrapped a blade of grass and we'll make it last. So she's been fighting in this field. She's had no armor, no shield. She's just been kind of fighting for her life alone. And now Michael is there to fight with her. And I think this is such like a beautiful tribute to Michael. And you can really tell that he has her best interest. There's really a true love and respect and friendship, as I keep saying there. And this was a beautiful tribute. I really, really loved it. And overall, she's just saying, no matter what, I'll still be with you. You'll be with me. And now they are engaged. Beautiful way, to kind of tell their love story and tell kind of how she felt while they were going through this process and, seeing the happy ending at the end. And speaking of happy endings, we end the album with Die With a Smile, which she said herself was the perfect way to just kind of roll the credits on this album. If she ended with Blade of Grass, it kind of leaves us just being like, okay, like you guys are in love, you're getting married, that's it. And like, yeah, you can end on that, but Die With a Smile has a much like, almost like a softer and more comforting way to end it than Blade of Grass does, because Blade of Grass still does have that kind of, that like, what's the word I'm looking for? That like, not the doubt, but that I just think Die With a Smile is a perfect bow on top of this album because it's sweet. It has like a sweetness to it. It's still telling a love story like Blade of Grass does, but it's not as dark, I guess you can say. I mean, they're literally saying if the world is ending, but you know what I mean. I also love that it starts with I just woke up with a dream. This literally perfectly wakes you up from these series of gothic dreams. The first line is I just woke up from a dream where you and I had to say goodbye. And this whole album is a series of gothic dreams that we've seen throughout the entire album. So it just right off the bat, that first line really like wakes you up and again rolls the credits on the mayhem that you just ensued and that you just dealt with. Beautiful, beautiful way to end it. Again, similar idea to Blade of Grass, where it's like, no matter what happens, I'll still be with you. I'll still be there with you. But this just has a softer way of saying it. I feel like Blade of Grass was a little more Gaga-esque and Die With a Smile just kind of resaid what she was saying in like a sweeter, more digestible way, if that makes sense. And I have a new appreciation for this song. I really do. I have a really new appreciation for this after hearing like Vanish Into You and Blade of Grass and like all the messages through those songs kind of tying into Die With a Smile. And it kind of fully encapsulates what she's been saying through this entire, Vanish Into You. She wants to become this person, and if the world ends, I want to be next to you, as in Die With a Smile. And there's just a beautiful kind of dark twisted side to it, if that makes sense, like I've been saying throughout, that Die With a Smile still has, but it doesn't explicitly say it. It's more of like a softer blow, I guess. I don't know. I have a new appreciation for the song. I've always liked it, but now I'm like, okay, I get it. Like this song is really fantastic, and I understand completely how it fits in the LG7 landscape. And with that is Mayhem. I truly love this album with everything in me. I think it is phenomenal. I really don't think there's a bad song on it. There's definitely favorites and like ones I don't listen to as often, but that being said, as a whole, this album is just fantastic. It is beautifully written. It is beautifully produced. The way that she's able to emulate the emotions of the song through the outros or through the sped up verses or the slowed down bridge or, the call and response in Perfect Celebrity or, there's so many smart production and artistic choices that, again, really just show who she is as an artist versus just being Lady Gaga and like the name and lights and the whole idea of separating the fame from the art and just completely showing what she's capable of. This album is just fantastic. I truly cannot get enough. I have not stopped listening to it. And this is such a strong way to really kick off 2025 in terms of like pop girl albums. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Let me know what you guys are thinking of the album in the comments down below. Shoot me a DM, shoot me a tweet, whatever it is. Let me know your favorite songs from the album because Killah is always number one, but I have like a new appreciation and love for a new song. I feel like every single day. So let me know what you guys are thinking. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this special bonus episode of Too Pop to Handle. Like I said, if you are new here, welcome. I hope you stick around. We upload every single Wednesday and it's just pop culture news, but it's still fun. Lots of Gaga, Beyonce, Taylor, Doechii, all the pop girls is what we really cover on Too Pop to Handle. So I hope you stick around, check out some past episodes. If you are feeling generous, go ahead and leave me a 5-star rating, or if you're watching on YouTube, give me a subscribe, give me a thumbs up, drop a comment, show the love. I always say, let's spread the love of Too Pop to Handle because the more love you give me, the more that I can give back to you guys. And with that, I will catch you guys on Wednesday. Bye.